What's going on, everybody? This is Holden B. Huffman, and welcome back to a podcast in space and time. In this episode, we're going to be talking about The End of the World, episode 2 of series 1 of Doctor Who. So, just remember, we're going to talk some spoilers, but we try to have a section of spoiler-free and then spoilers, but sometimes some spoilers still get into the spoiler-free mix, so just a little warning ahead of time. And also, just thank you so much for listening. Now, I'm going to shut up so you guys can go ahead and start listening, because we all hate intros.
Hey, Holden.
Yeah.
Are you ready?
I'm ready.
Are you ready to watch the world burn?
We just watched the world burn.
Did we?
Yes. We just watched the episode.
Oh. Yeah.
Duh. Were you not paying attention?
I got kind of distracted.
How?
By trying to think of a funny way to continue this bit.
Yeah, it's not really working. And guess what? It's staying. This awkward bit is staying. Welcome
to the show, fans of Doctor Who, and we're not doing that again.
Yeah, no. I don't think I'm going to let you start off again.
That
was bad.
It was great.
I might have you do it on the bad episodes, like Love and Monsters and Fear Her.
What are you talking about? Those are great episodes.
Don't get me started. Okay, well, let's go ahead and get started. We just finished watching the episode, so let's get started. I'll go first on my notes. My first note is I'm not a fan of the last time intros. I've never been a fan of that in some things. Like, I can understand for, like, on a week-to-week basis sometimes, but sometimes it's also like, dude, I watched this a week ago. I remember what happened.
It seems weird with a show like Doctor Who, especially at this point in the show where there's not a whole lot of connection between the episodes that you really need to right. Where you really need to see like clips from previous episodes to get what's going on.
Did they do that in series 12? I'm trying to remember if they did that in series 12.
I don't think so. I know Matt Smith's...
I think Spyfall Part 2 did, but the reason we didn't see that was because we saw it in theaters.
Yeah,
and
I don't think they've really done it since Matt Smith's first 2 seasons. I know they did it in Peter Capaldi's era as well. I remember that specifically. Did they? Huh.
Yeah, like I remember in the Zygon inversion, they definitely did one.
Yeah, but those were 2-parter episodes. Did they do it for every
That's
episode?
True. No, not every episode, but even the 2-parter episodes, I've not been a fan of it.
I mean, it kind of makes sense for 2-parter episodes just because, like, they are released, a week apart, and it is a very... I mean, especially with an episode like the Zygon invasion and inversion, there's a lot of stuff in those episodes. So it makes sense with stuff like that, but with just a normal episode, it doesn't really make a whole lot of sense to do it.
I do think this is the only one in this season, though, because the next episode in The Unquiet Dead, it definitely has a cold opening.
Okay.
I remember it having a cold opening.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, awkward silence. I
was going to say, just like as far as a second episode goes, I think it was really good for...
it's a very solid episode. Helps give some of the alienness to it, which is something you need early on to try to expect it throughout the series.
Yeah, for sure. And just like as far as putting everything into perspective, both in terms of like the show itself and also kind of like the scope of the universe that the show inhabits. Like this is a show that can literally go from like, it can literally go to the end of the world. You know, that's how far this show can go and like can take
Right.
viewers and companions.
Mm-hmm. And something I put down is I love that it picks up right after episode 1. Like it's literally as soon as Rose enters the TARDIS, we pick right back up.
Yeah.
Like I appreciate that because like in some episodes it's just like, well, what happened between here and there?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what happened in between this? You know, what's been going on? And sometimes it's just kind of some awkward background of like, well, you just blah 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 did that and blah 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 did that. I'm like, well, that's strange. But this one, no,
Yeah.
it just goes straight into it.
Any episode that starts with like the characters kind of having to summarize what has happened in conversation is that's always kind of awkward to me.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and we wonder why we like anime. Okay, but and then my third note was just I didn't mention this in the last episode, but I love Nine's outfit. Just the black dark pants, maybe jeans, I don't know. T-shirt.
I think they're like black jeans, yeah.
Mm-hmm. T-shirt or sometimes no, I think it's a long sleeve shirt. Nice thin long sleeve shirt and just a leather jacket, you know, just your everyday this is someone you would walk across the street.
Yeah, it definitely is an outfit that is very Nine. Like you wouldn't, it would be weird if like Matt Smith was wearing that, or you know, Peter Capaldi could probably pull it off.
Oh,
but
Capaldi could definitely pull that off.
But it's definitely very much Nine's Doctor,
and like
personality wise,
right? And like almost every Doctor always wears an outfit that's going to be like, well, he looks important. He looks like a main character. But Nine is just kind of casual. Like if you were to walk up to someone dressed like David, even in David Tennant's outfit, you'd be like, okay. But you're wearing a pinstripe suit and a long coat in the middle of summer.
Especially with like the spiky hair and the
right.
The Converses, he looks like he's going to the prom.
It totally does. And
he's going to the.
I can understand some of it for like it being in the UK because I understand the atmosphere is a lot cooler than it is in America.
Oh yeah.
So I do get that. But this is coming from someone who lives in the South of America, not South America, but the South of the USA.
South of the US, yeah.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, the Doctor does tend to wear a lot of layers, and that is like, I think it works in terms of like, you know, that's just the climate is different there, but also it would be kind of weird to have a Doctor showing up in like a t-shirt and shorts, you know, to save the galaxy.
It really would be. I mean, it would be interesting, but
I kind of really want just like a very beach vibes Doctor, you know, like flip flops, a pair of Ray-Bans, you know.
Well, no, anytime he goes to the beach, he's always wearing his normal outfit. Like you see, like Matt and Rory and Amy just like going like, oh yeah, we're going to this place, and they're just like, they're wearing that. No, what I'm thinking of is an episode in series 7. Matt and another companion just exit the TARDIS, and they're like, Las Vegas! And like, sure, he's wearing the sunglasses, but he's still in his purple suit.
Wasn't there an episode where they get out of the TARDIS into like some really cold place, and Amy's like, I dressed for Rio.
Oh, Yep.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, like it's I don't know. I feel like we're being robbed of the Doctor in like a Hawaiian shirt though and flip flops.
Especially Matt Smith's Doctor.
Matt Smith would have rocked it. It would have been so good.
But Peter Capaldi, that would have been hilarious.
Oh yeah.
Okay. Next note.
Yeah.
We went a little too long on that one.
Yeah. Let's see. Yeah, again, lots of great creature designs. I really enjoyed the tree people. They were very cool. Again, like lots of really tangible costumes, which I like. We get a good bit of that later in the show, but I don't know. For some reason, there seems to be like more of them in like these early episodes.
Yeah, there definitely is, and like I saw a lot of people complain about that, and like the Rings of Occitan, like, is the first time in a long time you see a bunch of different alien creatures and different outfits, and people are like, oh, well, I guess they remember they had these costumes in storage.
Yeah. And like, you know, as a like Star Wars fan, I love that like Mos Eisley kind of like lots of different weird aliens all in like there's real costumes. It's just there's something different about that really makes it
Fun fact. I don't know if I told you this, but you know Bosk's outfit, Bosk, the lizard bounty hunter.
Yeah.
In Empire Strikes Back. That's an outfit from Doctor Who.
I feel like I've seen that somewhere.
Not the lizard part, but just the rest of the spacesuit.
Or like the flight suit, yeah.
The flight suit. That's from William Hartnell's last episode, The 10th Planet. That's from his last episode as the Doctor.
That's an old costume.
Yeah, that was like 65, 66.
Yeah.
And like they reused it in like the 80s.
Yeah. Huh. Interesting.
But okay, I had something. Why on earth would you take someone to see the death of their home world for fun? Why?
I mean,
that's like, hey, doctor, you want to go see the destruction of your world?
I mean, like, it is the Doctor. We have to remember that anytime the Doctor does something that like no normal human being would do or want to do. Like, and especially at this point in the Doctor's life, I don't think he has like much of a filter for like what's going to be kind of upsetting.
Right. And also just a small note, this is the first appearance of the psychic paper. This episode has the first appearance.
Oh, really? That wasn't an Old Who thing?
I don't believe so. I've not seen it at all in Old Who.
Okay.
I mean, I could be wrong. Someone please correct me if I am wrong, but I think this is the first appearance.
Yeah. Yeah, just like the whole like idea of the episode really reminded me of the restaurant at the end of the universe from the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series.
Which I've not read. I still need to read.
They're pretty good. I didn't really enjoy the second book that much, honestly. It was kind of a downer, kind of a bummer.
Right.
It had a very kind of like nihilistic tone, which I don't like necessarily care for that much in science fiction. But like just the idea that like, you know, the end of the world is kind of this big spectacle that, you know, people gather to view, which like in this episode, it had a much, I guess it had a different tone than what it did in that book, but it was still kind of you still had that moment of Rose kind of like considering all of existence as she watches her planet burn.
Right. And she just calls her mom in the middle of it.
Yeah, I really liked that little, that very human moment.
And like when I first watched this episode and Jackie's like, what's the matter? You have a hangover? I'm like, she's not old enough. I'm like, oh yeah, the age limitations on drinking is different in the UK.
How old is Rose Tyler supposed to be? Because I
think she's supposed to be around 18.
Okay, because Billy definitely isn't 18.
18 or 19. 18 or 19, I believe. And I believe, I don't know much about British culture as much from Doctor Who, but I believe the legal drinking age is 18. But if you're 16 and if you have a guardian with you, you're allowed to have some like with a meal.
Okay.
Don't quote me on that, but that's what I've heard.
Yeah. Let's see what else.
Why did they wipe away Cassandra's tears? She needs to be moisturized. That's free moisture.
Can we talk about how? Can we just take a minute to talk about Cassandra and how she's the worst?
Yeah, she is the worst. She's bad. She's horrible.
The whole time, I just wanted to take like a little needle and poke her and just watch her pop. which, like, makes the ending very satisfying.
Yeah.
um, yeah, as like, as a villain though,
Yeah, I
obviously
mean,
she
it's
was
a
great.
solid villain, but just a good villain is a villain you hate.
Oh yeah, yeah. She definitely had sort of like the kind of Dolores Umbridge sensibility where you just look at her and like hear her talk and just hate
Mm-hmm.
everything about her.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and
In
like,
which you did think she was Dolores Umbridge.
yeah, I got the actresses mixed up. She plays the
The
Quidditch
Quidditch,
teacher
yeah, the Quidditch teacher.
in Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Um, yeah, for a minute I thought it was the same actress as Umbridge.
Mm-hmm. And I love the Doctor's face of he's just like, that's not an ostrich egg.
Like he kind of had it figured out early on, but didn't really put the pieces together until the end that it was like obviously a decoy.
Mm-hmm. And also,
Yeah.
Tainted Love. I love Tainted Love.
See, I was a big fan of them putting on some Toxic by Britney Spears. That was a great choice for like, what did she call it? Like an anthem to the world.
Mm-hmm.
Thought that was really
like
funny.
a national anthem.
Yeah. Which, like, at the time that this episode was, coming out, it probably was basically. I didn't realize that song had kind of like permeated all the way over to British culture as well. But I guess it was just like a multinational hit or whatever.
Mm-hmm. My question is, what made the tree lady? I can't remember her name. I'm sorry, but what made her want to scan the Doctor? Was it just from feeling the air from his lungs when he breathed on her? Which sounds weird, but if you've seen the episode, you understand what I'm talking about.
Maybe, or like just like the weird doctory vibes in general. Maybe, I don't know. I didn't quite catch what it was that made her suspicious of him.
Mm-hmm. Maybe it's just because Time Lords always just give off a certain vibe. Like you can just always suspect something.
Yeah. And I guess too, like him being like human looking, because I guess there are other beings in the universe that look human, but it's typically just like Time Lords and humans that look like that human. So that probably also made her kind of suspicious.
Mm-hmm. And I'm not sure, could someone in the audience that's listening tell us if the TARDIS could translate in Classic Who, like if that was ever explained, because I don't really remember that being explained in Classic Who. Like I said, I've not seen a lot of Classic Who, so I don't know.
I feel like that explanation probably would have had to come pretty early. Otherwise, you would have had people writing in letters saying, "Hey, how can they understand like all these different alien languages?" Like, and obviously it would make sense for the Doctor because the Doctor is the Doctor, but like for the companions, it wouldn't make as much sense.
Right. And also just the Doctor having. I wrote down the Doctor having some PTSD from the Time War and not wanting to share his emotions with Rose, and that's a spoiler. I'll cut that.
I mean, they talked about that at the end of the episode.
True.
Yeah, I don't think I think there are still some Time War related spoilers, but like obviously at this point we know that the Time War happened.
Okay. Okay, yeah, that's true.
But yeah, there was a lot in here with the Doctor kind of. We see a lot of like the Doctor's reactions and his emotions coming out in relation to the Time War, and obviously 9 like it's very recent for him, and it was very traumatic, and we see that we see that kind of like start to build up throughout the episode, and then late in the episode, his conversation with what was her name? Tree Lady. I hate calling her Tree Lady. Hold on, I'm looking up her name because I feel rude not knowing it.
I do too. I feel bad for not knowing it.
Jabe with a B.
Oh, Jabe.
Yeah, with his conversation with Jabe, like it all sort of comes out that like he's literally coming right off of a war that destroyed his entire race.
Right.
And he doesn't outright say that to her, and we don't get that confirmation until his conversation with Rose at the end, but you can just see on his face and in their interactions that like that's what
he even cries. He
happened.
Even cries through it.
Yeah. And I thought that was a really like nice scene and nice moment. And you were talking about how much you like that scene, but yeah, it's definitely like highlight scene of the episode. Just
definitely.
All of that coming to the surface for the Doctor, and I thought that was really good.
Okay, so the steward died. Why? Like, does he just lean on technology too much? Because like it was just we were talking about like during the episode, push of the button. Oh, shields are down. Shields are down. What if he just accidentally pressed it?
Yeah, that really bothered me too. Like how easy it was for them to lower the shields. Like the little robot literally hit one button and the whole shield, like keeping him alive, came down. I thought that was kind of.
And speaking of the shield, does that shield only just block the sun? Because I know they call it the sun shield or something like that. But you would think that kind of shield would have been built in to it. And like, because like it's glass. If it was just glass wouldn't hold up in space. Glass would have shattered, and just
I think they
oxygen would have left, and Rose would have been dead.
I think they called it a solar shield. Yeah, I mean it doesn't. That also didn't really make sense to me that they would have like an extra layer within the glass itself that like was not part of the glass and could be turned on and off. That was weird. I didn't really understand why it would work that way. Which I know, like, the whole thing of the episode was that the sun was literally going like supernova. So they would have had to have some kind of extra layer of protection, but to have that be something that can just be turned on and off with the push of a button didn't make any sense to me.
Right.
Speaking of other things that didn't make sense, can we talk about the platform with the fans in the air conditioning chamber?
Who designed that?
Why was it designed in a way where you had to walk through the fans to reset the air conditioner?
And plus, they weren't spinning fast enough to really produce that much air.
Yeah, they were like barely spinning at the start. And then, once the temperature started to rise, they started spinning a lot more rapidly. But when you're dealing with like 5,000 degree plus temperatures, a fan isn't going to help.
No, not at all.
That's not the type of cooling system you would be using at that point.
And also, I love Nine's fantastic. Just him saying fantastic all the time. But sometimes it feels too forced to me through this season.
Yeah, in this episode, he was definitely saying it like mostly saying it like sarcastically, but it did feel a bit off. Like I don't think he's quite got the hang of it yet.
And I honestly don't think he did, because this is a spoiler alert. This is his only season.
Yeah. I don't know. As much as I enjoy the Doctor catchphrases, I am kind of glad that's the thing they started phasing out, because
they stopped doing that with Capaldi. Like he did have a couple things, like he would say "shut up" a lot, but that's more of a thing you can integrate really easily.
Right. It's a lot different from saying like Alonzi or Geronimo. Like
Mm-hmm.
it's a lot more natural of a thing to just say.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas with the other Doctor catchphrases, they
Bow
can
ties are
definitely,
cool. They can be like, "You're wearing a bow tie? Yeah, bow ties are cool. Shut up."
yeah,
Stuff like
right.
that.
Like that's a lot different than saying Geronimo.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and again, like I enjoy the Doctor catchphrases, but there's definitely times where they're like a little bit much.
Mm-hmm.
Mm.
Um. Again, Nine Sass is great. What are you going to do?
Love it.
Moisturize me?
Um, and there's a lot of, I feel like there's a lot of villains that Nine encountered where it was like really just gave him a lot of fodder for sass.
Mm-hmm. Definitely.
Like very villains who are very like full of themselves and
Mm-hmm.
um, kind of snarky. It gave him a
Right.
lot of room to just like let his sass go, which I enjoy.
Mm-hmm. I don't have much more I can talk about without getting into the spoiler section. Just also at the end, well, we talked about that. Just in the end, how he starts opening up more about the Time War.
Yeah.
Rose and
Um,
her love for chips.
yeah. Just like a very British moment at
Mm-hmm.
the end there.
Yeah, that's all I can talk about without getting into spoilers for the rest of the show. So, do you have anything else?
No, let's go into spoilers then.
Spoiler warning.
Um,
Okay.
c-
Yeah. What?
can we talk about the Doctor as he was watching Cassandra die?
Right?
I mean, that was like big
Yeah, I forget.
foreshadowing for
I forget.
like
Mm-hmm. For the
for
finale. For the finale
yeah,
of like the Daleks asking him, "Are you a coward or the destroyer of everything?" And he's like, "A coward, always."
yeah, yeah. We definitely see a very different Doctor here than what the Doctor becomes later through
Mm-hmm.
his whole arc throughout the season. I think like we definitely see he's still that hardened Doctor who
Mm-hmm.
ended the Time War in the most horrible way imaginable.
Mm-hmm. Which is also brought back into the part two. Gosh, I can't remember the name of it. The part two, series 4 finale. Not the Stolen Earth, Journey's End. Journey's End. That's the
Yeah,
name of it. Of why Rose has to stay with the doctor, the Donna doctor, whatever you want to call him, the clone,
right. The Doctor clone.
right? Because, like the doctor said, that's me when we first met, born in war and blood,
Yeah,
and you changed me.
yeah, yeah. And we definitely see like I mean, there were hints of it in the last episode, but we definitely saw
Mm-hmm.
this was like a really intense moment of it, of just like this stone cold
Mm-hmm.
doctor who would, literally
Right. And
watch
also
someone.
he grew attached to Jabe. And the doctor, when someone he grows attached to dies, he loses it.
Oh yeah, yeah. This, I mean, obviously, this was like maybe not directly in response to that, but it was definitely fueled a lot by it. We saw like the wrath of a doctor who has been hurt.
Mm-hmm. Right.
Yeah, I thought that was a really very interesting moment.
Mm-hmm. And also, can we talk about now how Orphan 55 can't happen now? Because Earth is
Yeah,
dead?
yeah, that I noticed that like early on that this was a very different ending to the Earth than what happened in Orphan 55. And I
Which is
know
just a
in Matt,
bad episode to begin
yeah,
with.
I mean Orphan 55 was a bad episode all around, but it definitely showed a much bleaker end to the Earth than
Mm-hmm.
than what we see here. Like this one
Right.
had a not a completely optimistic tone, but it was definitely like, the
Mm-hmm.
doctor had his whole moment of like, you imagine the end of the world happening all the time, but like what if you survived? What if humanity made it out alive? And I
Mm-hmm.
like that tone a lot better here
Mm-hmm.
than the tone we got with Orphan 55.
Which was a nice
uh,
tone and a nice message about pollution and global warming. but
Right.
it doesn't fit with what they're saying in this.
Yeah, it's almost contradictory, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I guess the message in Orphan 55 was like that's one possible end to the world.
I mean,
I'm pretty sure
that's what the doctor said. The doctor said this is just a possibility. The future is still changeable. You can change it.
so maybe like, if you look at it in that way, it's not really a contradiction, but
Mm-hmm.
it's still very like looking at two very different ideas of the end of the world. One of them, unfortunately, being the more likely one at this point. But
Mm-hmm. And can we talk about how Doctor Who was never political until series 11? It was never political until we got a woman as the doctor. When season
oh
1, episode 2 literally has a racist as a villain.
yeah, the villain's like, I mean, that wasn't like her main. Well,
It really was, because she was saying, "Oh, you
she,
mongrels and everything,
yeah,
you need to burn." And also, I get money for this, so.
yeah, we had a racist, money-loving villain as,
Mm-hmm. And it's
but
like,
that's not political at all.
yeah, no, it's not political, not one bit, no. And also, so they went back to the UK, like at the end of the episode, they went back to London. Why
Yeah.
doesn't Rose go see Jackie? And like, I can kind of get it of like, sure, it's a time machine. They can come back to the right moment, and that's what they planned on. But the doctor messes that up later. It's like, if you just done that, you could have let that not happen.
And I guess like at that time, she was kind of taking it for granted that she could come back whenever she wanted to.
Mm-hmm.
Because like, she couldn't know that the doctor could possibly like, mess up the whole timeline.
Mm-hmm. Which I think is explained a lot better in series 7, like the early Amy and Rory episodes of series 7, of like the doctor's like, okay, where do we want to go next? How about we go here? And they're like, well, how about we just go home, because our friends are going to start noticing we're aging faster than them. And doctor's like, I get it.
Yeah. Which,
It's like,
I mean,
thank you.
I guess like Amy and Rory are sort of older than Rose, though. I don't remember exactly how old Amy was, but
I think
that
Amy was in her early 20s at the beginning of
that would
series
be
5.
It would be a bit more of a concern for Amy than it would be for Rose.
Mm-hmm.
Not just because like she's like, older physically, but because like she's probably thinking more about those kinds of things than what an 18-year-old would.
That's very true. And do you have anything else? That's
all the notes I've got.
Yeah, that's all I've got too.
Yeah, overall though, really good episode. Probably one of my favorites from this season. This isn't a very long season, so like there's not a whole lot of episodes to choose from, but I really do enjoy this episode a lot.
Yeah, it's a good episode. It's a really good episode.
It's a very Doctor Who episode. Like there are certain episodes that you really wouldn't fit very well in another show, and
especially this early in a show.
Yeah, for sure. Like there's very few shows out there that could have this as like an episode 2, and pull it off. But this show does it very well.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, thank you guys for joining us today. This time, next time we will get to the Unquite Dead. Yay! Also, sorry. One small more thing I want to talk about that I forgot to mention. I hate the Next Time trailers. They spoil so much.
Yeah.
Especially the one I was the most angriest about was, okay, they had already announced that John Sims was returning as the Master for Series 10. But then they also put it in the Next Time trailer. It's like, but what about the people who didn't find out? don't put it in the next time trailer.
Yeah, I mean the trick to a good trailer, I think, is like giving away just enough information to get people interested, but like a lot of this isn't just a next time trailer issue, but a lot of trailers in general seem to
movie
like
trailers and everything. Right.
They seem to give away like the whole plot, and instead of just like, you know, kind of just enough to grab you.
And like, if you want to talk about the most perfect movie trailers for that, Avengers Endgame had the best trailers for that scenario. Because like they have 10 years of movies. They literally, I remember the second trailer was most like 90% clips from the past films.
I'm pretty sure they confirmed like as the trailers were coming out that they didn't use more than like the first half hour of the movie.
Yeah, no, they said they didn't use anything past the 30-minute mark of the movie for the trailers, except for a couple scenes. I did see a couple scenes.
Yeah.
But like unimportant scenes that don't really matter.
Which I feel like I'm not like, you know, I don't work in Hollywood or anything, but I feel like that's probably a pretty good rule of thumb, is like, you know, don't show more than like the first, I mean, half an hour might be a bit too short for certain movies. Like, you know, if you're doing a trailer for like The Lord of the Rings, then you would want to show more than the first half hour. But
right. Well, I mean, this is Endgame, a 3-hour long movie, too.
Yeah, they did very, very good at like not really giving away the whole movie. Just like giving you enough to grab you.
But if you're like me, you like to theorize and speculate about things, you've got some mind of what could happen.
Right, for sure.
But if you're just the average moviegoer and like, oh, here's a trailer for this, it's perfect. Absolutely perfect.
Yeah, for sure.
Okay, well, that went on a little long. So next time, The Unquite Dead.